Hey, it's David here from socialexpression.net with today's video from a subscriber request on the YouTube channel up here, if you're on YouTube, that is, on explaining more about self-acceptance, going deeper into this process of self-acceptance that I talk about so much, that I talk about at the center of overcoming something like social anxiety. And really to bring more presence and happiness and contentment into your life as well, above and beyond the healing of the social anxiety condition that you experience. So in my Dissolve Social Anxiety course, I do a whole lesson on self-acceptance, in fact. It goes very in-depth. One of my favorite lessons, if I must say so myself, that I created in the course. And it's beautifully said by Tara Brach, who's a clinical psychologist and kind of a secular Buddhism teacher here in the US. And she talks about it, and I don't know if I've said in another video, but if I had, I'm going to say it again, is that when we combine the power of mindfulness with compassion or self-compassion, we get like two wings on a butterfly. If the entire butterfly is acceptance, we've got these two wings. Then self-acceptance is that butterfly of the wing of mindfulness and the wing of compassion. And she explains this by saying, well, with mindfulness, it's great because we get that clarity and we practice our mindfulness and being aware, whether we do a sitting mindfulness practice, we do some exercises like leaves on a stream, if we do the having, noticing, if we just do plain old mindfulness meditation, or if we really sit there and like mindfully eat and really get engaged into our experience, or driving or doing a task, whatever. We practice mindfulness. It helps us get really clear into the moment of what's going on. And we can start to see patterns, those social anxiety patterns that come, oh, here I'm thinking this self-deprecating thought that says, you know, don't say that, you're stupid. You'll just sound stupid to everybody if you say that. And you go, oh, it's just this part of my mind, and you just kind of notice it and let it go like this and then fade away like a Pac-Man off to the side, right? It takes practice though. But it's a very, very powerful tool. And the thing with mindfulness, though, is that sometimes it can get a little bit sterile and becomes a very, a remove process, which is great. But then we might take it a little too far and say, well, this is what I'm seeing. You know, you need to correct that. It can go a little too far if we don't connect to our heart, really. So that's where compassion comes in. And the self-compassion, it's really like self-love in a sense. And there are also meditative and exercises that you can do, meditative practices and exercises to cultivate compassion. You can also cultivate compassion by practicing being kind to others as well, which more importantly, you need to be kind to yourself in a situation of social anxiety, because you sit there going, I wish I didn't do that. Why did I do that? I'm so stupid. I'm so dumb. Why me? Why me? Why me? You're really beating you when you're doing that. So when we practice compassion, it sort of balances out the mindfulness in the space of love, that we can kind of soften the mindfulness a little bit so it's not so sterile all the time. And you can be mindful and, you know, you don't need to be compassionate. You'll see something, go, oh, you'll move on. But sometimes it goes like, might get a little bit into, okay, I'm mindful of it, but I see it, but then you're feeling a little bit maybe disconnected, which I would say isn't really being mindful necessarily. It's kind of like a sliver or a hair removed. But the compassion softens it up. Alternatively, if the compassion and love is taking it too far into kind of overly mushy, hallmark, woo-woo kind of stuff, then we might not be clearly seeing what's going on. So that's why the mindfulness balances out that butterfly of self-acceptance, as it were. So I love that analogy, and it makes so much sense to me, and I can feel it because I practice both a lot. So that's a cool conceptual way to think about self-acceptance, and doing the mindfulness and compassion practices are great for that. And you can look those kind of things up on YouTube, or if you take Dissolve Social Anxiety, get the course. It's a whole lesson that includes both of those things. Then I'll also talk about something to do with what I call soothing self-talk, or self-acceptance self-talk, which is that stuff that when things are getting tough, you go right to the heart of self-acceptance. So no matter if you're feeling your social anxiety, or maybe you're feeling a little depressed because you're socially anxious, right? It can mix in there, depression as well. You're feeling anticipatory anxiety because you're nervous about having to go to work or go out or go grocery shopping, that you practice a little soothing self-talk. Now, I really like the way Albert Ellis has done this with his rational emotive behavioral therapy, or REBT, where the statements of things like, when you say, well, I'm a good person, or that person's a good person, or you say, well, I'm a bad person, or that person's a bad person, to remove that judgment from you, fundamentally who you are as a human being. So for instance, taking the statement, I'm a good person, and saying instead, I'm a person who behaves well sometimes. Alternatively, you also say, I'm a person who behaves badly sometimes. So put those together. I'm a person who behaves well sometimes and behaves badly sometimes, and I accept myself as I am. So that's kind of a little statement. I just kind of chained up from what I remember. And I put a lot of the self-acceptance statements down in that lesson. And they're really powerful. And it's not always just about affirming, because I have mixed feelings about affirmations. They can work, but there's a lot of research that shows that affirmations work well when you have high self-esteem. And when you have low self-esteem, then affirmations can remind you of where you're not at and where you want to be, and it makes it more painful and harder. So I think care needs to be taken, but it's more like kind of absorbing the meaning and the story that these self-acceptance statements put together is the powerful point. So if we say, I love and accept myself, even though I have social anxiety, or I love and accept myself right now because I've made progress, or I'm socially confident right now, including the positive and negative. I'm all about integrating and not trying to only go for the positive and ignore the negative, because there are times when the negative can be useful. Although with social anxiety, it tends to be more unuseful when we focus on the negative emotional state and we keep ourselves locked into it. Our amygdala is going crazy and we're stuck in basically fight or flight when that happens. So that's my video on going deeper into self-acceptance. I hope it was useful. If you like it, leave a comment below. If you agree, disagree, whatever. It's always interesting to have discussions and debates. Also, subscribe to the channel above and check out socialexpression.net. You can get the free ebook, 10 Keys to Social Anxiety Recovery, over there. And until next video, best of luck in your recovery. I hope that you're doing something about it, whether it is getting books or watching YouTube videos like this, going to see a therapist, signing up for a course, whatever it is. Please, I encourage you to do something, because you can get over this and handle it. Okay? Take care, and we'll talk to you next video.